All right, committee, let's go ahead and get started. Once again, Representative Wynn is here, replacing Representative Ousley. So welcome back to Osmond. I'm sorry, Osmond. Big difference there. Thanks for correcting me. All right, so first item on the agenda is request for bill introductions. Are there any bill introductions? Seeing no bill introductions, we'll move on. Committee, I'll bring your attention to House Bill number 2042, the bill that we heard yesterday. We're going to discuss this and hopefully pass it out today. It didn't seem like there was a whole lot of objections to any of this yesterday, so I figured we'll go ahead and get that out of the way so we can get it in the queue to be worked on the floor and we can not have to stay late one night. With that, I'll have the reviser review the bill for us once again. Charles Ramber.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be brief. As the committee recalls from yesterday, this is a bill from the Self-Storage Operators Association that permits self-storage operators to tow vehicles, watercraft, or trailers if they are the occupants are in default for 45 days or more, and sets up notice requirements and other items just like with a sale.
Are there any questions for the reviser? All right, seeing none. Charles, there was one thing that you pointed out yesterday that you wanted to clean up in here, so we will have an amendment. Would you go through that? Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is an amendment that has been approved by the folks who are bringing this bill to you. The primary objective of this amendment is just to sort of a due diligence kind of thing with respect to the statute that's actually referenced in the current bill that sort of sets up the lien for towing services and wrecker operators. So if you look at the amendment, we're just adding a section 8-1103, which is that statute. And we're just adding, there's a list there that sort of sets up the lien, which says whenever any person providing wrecker or towing service at the direction of a law enforcement officer, owner. And then we're adding language, or if a city ordinance or county resolution authorizes the towing of vehicles by a wrecker or towing service, a self-storage unit operator as provided by KSA 22 SUP 58817 and amendments there too, and then or as otherwise provided by a city ordinance. So what this amendment does is just makes it clear that when a self-storage unit operator directs a tow, that lien is created. Just makes that crystal clear. And it's one of those amendments that may not have been 100% necessary, but it makes things clear, and I think it makes the bill better. There's also some, because we were amending that, I took the opportunity to just clarify the language a little bit, consistent with this amendment on the bottom of the bill. As you recall from the testimony yesterday, the way that the self-storage unit operators wanted this set up, in which the bill, it's the intent of the bill to do this, is that if there is a county or a county resolution or a city ordinance that authorizes towing of vehicles, generally, then it's in that circumstance that a self-storage unit operator is permitted to direct a tow under the bill. And that's that's their intent with respect to the bill. So there needs to be that county resolution or city ordinance in place. The intent is that it doesn't need to specifically authorize a self-storage unit operator to do anything, just that it authorizes towing of vehicles in the city or in the county. So that's basically what this amendment does. It just is a clarifying amendment and just ensuring that that lien is created at the direct, when a tow is made at the direction of a self-storage unit operator.
Are there any questions for the reviser? You did a good, thanks. You did a really good job of explaining it. I'm seeing no questions for you on that. Thanks. So committee, we're going to do things a little bit differently this year. When we work a bill, we're going to bring the bill up for discussion. We'll make amendments to the bill, and then we'll make a motion after it's complete to pass it or not. So on discussion of this bill, is there any discussion on the amendment that the reviser just went through? Okay, seeing none on that, can I get a motion to amend the bill with this amendment? Representative Patton?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would make the amendment as recommended by the reviser, or as described to us by the reviser.
Seconded by Representative Bourgeon. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, go ahead and close.
I close.
Committee, you heard the motion to amend the bill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All against, say no. The ayes have it. Any further discussion on this bill? Seeing no further discussion, can I get a motion to pass the bill as amended?
I move that we,
Representative Bourgeon,
that we move the bill as amended,
favorably as amended.
favorably as amended.
Seconded by Representative Dodson. Okay, committee, you've heard the motion. All in favor, say aye. All against, say no. The bill passes. All right, so next on the agenda, we have a couple of individuals here from Kansas State University. I'm going to turn this portion of the meeting over to Representative Dodson, who knows them quite well, and they're here at his request. So I'll let Representative Dodson do the introductions here. Representative Dodson.
Well, thanks, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the giving me an opportunity to talk a little bit about this. I've known both of these leaders for quite some time, and you know, in the context of what we do in this committee, this university, like KU and Wichita State, are all about bringing in new businesses, providing innovation, and producing a workforce that we need for all the businesses that we think are going to come into the state of Kansas over the next few years. With the arrival of President Linton, we had kind of a refocus. These two leaders were doing great things already, but he kind of put it in the context of energy and enthusiasm, innovation, networking, which included businesses and folks all around the whole region. They have outreach that's going around this whole state, kind of find out what people need and what they can do to help. And then the other one is this networking with venture capitalists. Because almost anything you do today, you've got to have a little bit of money to start it up. So they're certainly doing that, and it's a very exciting time. We've got, as most of you know, research is probably underappreciated, but research in our great universities is one of the things that can really propel this state forward. It's not only what they do, but it's the young people they produce to do it. We're focusing a lot on bioscience, a lot on ag and food, and we've really got some great expertise and synergy down there to do that. For those of you who have been along the North Campus corridor, what you see there now is great building projects that'll attract people from all over if not just the states, all over the world to come in there. And that'll be right next to the InBav facility that'll be opening in probably about 12 to 14 months. And the city and the county and the university, and aided by the state of Kansas, have all put a lot of effort and money into that. So we really hope that thing will serve as a magnet and a real building agent for the state. So we have two of our leaders here today, and I'll introduce them both together here so that won't be an interruption between. But first, I'd like to introduce Dr. David Roskowski. He's been here for about 18 months. We met early on, and we had really a injection of energy when he showed up, because here's a guy who believes and understands the difference between risk and reward, and is willing to take some risk to try to find those things that'll be successful. He heads up something called Innovation Partners. This Innovation Partners brings together corporate engagement, technical commercialization, that is the ability to hand great new ideas and innovations off to commercial enterprise, and then the economic development part. So this is an exciting time for his office as Vice President for Research. And also here is Dr. Kevin Gwinner. He's been here for almost 15 years, and he and I are on the board for district scouting together. Guy committed to Boy Scouts, committed to producing great students down there, and we're really glad to have him. I would say that Kevin has rekindled interest in business. He has a great facility. I don't know how many folks have been down there to see it, but as you drive back by that new building, you'll see the ticker tape from New York drifting around the inside of that building to include the folks that have contributed to making that building a reality. So he's got a program that brings in people from downtown, business leaders and others from around the nation, to talk to students, to motivate them to be innovative and to give them the insight that great business guys have built up over time. And so that's a great incubator for young people. And I know our chair has a son that's in that program now, and he's doing well, and that's a good thing. So let me start with Dr. Rosowski.
Thank you, Representative Dodson. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for having me. As Representative Dodson pointed out, I was here about a year ago, and I was telling you about Kansas State University's bold and ambitious economic prosperity plan for Kansans. And I'm very pleased today to take you through a progress update where we are 1 year and 1 month since our launch. Next slide, please, Dennis. First, let me set the stage. I did come here about 18 months ago, and in coming to understand the strengths and values of Kansas State University, if you would back up. Well, it could be on a timer. In that case, we'll let it run. That's fine. What I came to understand is that Kansas State would become the global leader in bioscience, biodefense, biosecurity, but also global food and agricultural systems. And that allowed us to frame both our expertise and capacities, but also the investments that we would make on our own and that we would seek to make from the public and private sector into the research and discovery enterprise at K-State. And we sought to align our focus areas for research and discovery, not only with our strengths, and not only with the needs of the state of Kansas and Kansans, but also to position the state of Kansas to become globally competitive for business. In fact, it was in response, if you would go to the next slide, Dennis, it was in response to the Board of Regents' charge to the Regents' universities that we develop a plan specifically to address the third pillar of their strategic plan, economic prosperity for Kansas. And when they came to the research universities, they said, we want to talk about jobs and we want to talk about investment into the state of Kansas. And those are the only metrics we want to be concerned with at this time. And tell us what you're going to do. Next slide, please. Our response was what we called our Economic Prosperity Plan for Kansas, or EPP. And we said within 1 decade that we would create 3,000 new jobs and bring $3 billion of new investment into Kansas. These are big numbers. But they were carefully selected, titrated based on what we knew we could do, and set just high enough to challenge us to work even harder and in a more focused way to develop jobs, to create technologies, to spin out companies, to sell licenses, and to attract companies into Kansas. So keep that 3B and 3K in focus. And let me walk you through the 4 focus areas of the Economic Prosperity Plan that I outlined last year. Next slide, please. Food and agricultural systems innovation. It speaks for itself. Creating the food system for the state of Kansas, for the region, for the nation, and for the world. The second area, digital agriculture and advanced analytics. This is simply the future of agriculture. The application of all the advanced technologies, whether it's data sciences, artificial intelligence, machine learning, whether it's robotics, UAVs and UASs, all of the applications of all of the new technologies applied to a field that's prime and ripe and ready for transformation. The third is biodefense, biosecurity. Of course, you know that MBAF selected Manhattan for its location. It was selected in part because of the work that we do at the Biosecurity Research Institute at K-State. The construction 2 decades ago and the investment by the state in that Biosecurity Research Institute was in part a reflection of the great work we were doing in animal infectious disease in our College of Veterinary Medicine. So you can see over the decades, success begets success. Companies, organizations, scientists, and resources flow into Manhattan, into K-State, to help position us as the epicenter for biodefense and biosecurity. So if you think back to that first slide, we will become the world's preeminent research university in food, agricultural systems, biodefense, biosecurity. The fourth area is something that we call K-State 105. That's not a disciplinary area. That's our commitment to being engaged in deep and meaningful ways with all 105 counties in Kansas, to leverage K-State's extension, to leverage K-State's expertise, to work in partners with other regent universities, with our technical colleges and our community colleges, to work in partnership with agencies and philanthropy around and across the state, to bring conditions for prosperity to all 105 counties. And I'll talk about that in a little bit. Next slide, please. Well, let me talk about progress. So last year I walked you through these 4 areas, and now we're about 11 and a half months into the plan. And let me tell you about our timeline. When we started this, we said we were going to create 3,000 new jobs, and by the end of last year, by the end of 2022, we would be at 550 of those new jobs. We also said by the end of 2022, toward our $3 billion goal, we would be at $550 million of new investment into the state of Kansas. And now I'm going from memory, from the graphics that we don't have access to right now. But at the time that we said we needed to be at 550 new jobs, we had just crossed 650 jobs. And at the time that we said we needed to be at $550 million of new investment into Kansas, we had just crossed $650 million. Now that's realized jobs and realized investments into the state. There's also another block on the slides that you may have or that we may have here. There's another block on that progress chart of committed resources committed to create jobs and committed money into the state. That brings us significantly higher. Next slide, please. So if you look, we are 1,100 jobs into the goal already. That's as of the end of last year. Another 616 already committed. Those will come online in the next year. And then the remainder are those in the pipeline. And on the far right is that goal of 3,000. And that's by 2029. So we're on our way in terms of jobs. And if you go to the next slide, please, Dennis. Now we look at the direct investment into Kansas. We're at $650 million. Our goal for the end of that year was 550. We're already at 650 realized. We have another $942 million committed to coming into Kansas in the next 24 months, and then have already started our pipeline. With the pipeline, we're at $1.7 billion towards our $3 billion goal. So this is working. The university is energized, and we're working cohesively toward these very focused, very specific, and very impactful goals for the state of Kansas. Next slide, please. Let me tell you how some of the various Kansas State University initiatives fit together. If you go back, I mentioned the Economic Prosperity Plan. We also, that's the 3,000,000 plan up there. We also have something called GRIP, which is a game-changing research initiation program, where we are investing $3 million of K-State resources to fund 3 teams going after big federal money with big economic development potential. It's the first time such a program's taken place at Kansas State University. And we have received 36 applications. We've gone through a down select to get it down to 10. And by the end of the spring, we'll identify the 3 that will be funded at the $1 million level each. And then finally, the Edge Collaboration District is what Representative Dodson referred to as North Kimball Avenue. That's been rebranded as the Edge District. That construction is moving quite quickly apace. We're starting on our 3rd corporate office building on that site, and it's already more than 50% leased out. We haven't even broken ground on it. That's bringing companies to Manhattan, to the edge of K-State's campus, to work directly with our faculty, to engage with our students, and to put internship and co-op opportunities at their fingertips. Okay, I'd like to thank Governor Kelly for including in her 2023 budget $5 million recurring funding to support biomanufacturing training and education, because that's a big part of our plan. Kansas State University will develop a biomanufacturing training and education center to meet the needs of the new bioscience and biomanufacturing industries that we're locating in Kansas, Scorpion Biologics, AMBAF, USDA, and several others that are in the pipeline. This new center, we call it BTech, will require renovation of 2 adjacent rooms to make a 2,000 square foot laboratory that will contain comprehensive biomanufacturing line equipment that supports all phases of the biomanufacturing processes. It will be configured with equipment, with software that prepares students for immediate transfer of skills to industry. Upstream processing is the first stage of biomanufacturing and focuses on cell line development and cultivation, to culture expansion in cells and bioreactors. Equipment needs for upstream and for downstream processing include cell extraction and solid liquid separation and fractionation and purification, and many others involved in the bioseparation and bioprocesses phases of biomanufacturing. Not only will we create a dedicated biomanufacturing program to support the current and anticipated needs of these new Kansas businesses that we're attracting, but we're going to establish career paths to retain students here in Kansas with well-paying positions. We're going to create internships that will pique student interest and training programs that can serve transitioning military personnel. This will position Kansas State University and the state of Kansas as a regional engine for workforce development in this critical industry sector, whether it's animal health or human health, veterinary or human medical diagnostics, or vaccine development for human, animal, or zoonotic infectious disease. Next slide, please. Thank you, Dennis. K-State is also requesting state support and investment in the broader K-State 105 initiative, as we launched last week right here in the State House. State funds are needed to fully activate the K-State 105 initiative set and achieve on our bold goals for economic prosperity statewide. There's a lot of excitement around the state in all 105 counties and among business leaders and community leaders for the new K-State 105 Network Kansas partnership that we announced last week, again right here in the State House, and which was the focus of President Linton's Shawnee County community visit, also here in Topeka earlier this week. So now's the time to invest in the partnership, to invest and realize our shared vision, our shared commitment with action and with outcomes. K-State's bold economic prosperity plan for Kansas. As part of all of that, the university has forged a partnership with Network Kansas to do 2 things. 1, to address locally identified community vitality needs that hinder economic growth prospects in all counties, rural and urban. And two, to provide needed services to help entrepreneurs and existing companies to advance their businesses. Defined, measurable, meaningful, and reportable metrics have been established to track 105's progress over time, including, first, the creation of direct jobs. Second, the attraction and leverage of capital and equity investments. Third, the establishment or expansion of businesses. And fourth, technical assistance and funding for businesses, entrepreneurs, and communities. These metrics are very tightly aligned with K-State's Economic Prosperity Plan goals of creating 3,000 new jobs and bringing $3 billion of new investment into Kansas by 2029. I'd like to thank you for inviting my testimony today, and I thank you for all that you do for Kansas State University and for Kansans. Kansas State is committed to being our state's economic engine, leader in research and discovery, workforce engine and talent magnet, and a university for Kansans. Thank you. I'd be happy to take questions. Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks. Any questions? Can you tell me how do you differentiate which jobs and which investments can be directly attributed to Kansas State and its programs? How do you figure that?
We very carefully, Chairman Tarwater. So we count jobs and investment that result from our activities that we're driving in the Economic Prosperity Plan. So that means by virtue of investments in research or the research that we're conducting, when we attract companies, they begin to partner with K-State, and then they see the opportunity to locate part of their operations in Kansas, we would count that. When we license a technology that comes out of K-State's research into a company in Kansas, or creating a company in Kansas that creates jobs, we count that. When a company decides to build a major manufacturing facility in Kansas that creates a large number of, or any number of jobs, as Scorpion Biologics did, we count that.
All right. Can you tell me where you are with your discussions with the higher ed budget as far as the biomanufacturing training and education monies and the K-State 105? And what are you asking for, and where are you in the negotiations with that?
So we know that the biomanufacturing training and education funds are in the governor's budget, and we hope that the legislature will continue to be supportive of that request. The Board of Regents, who is the genesis of our Economic Prosperity Plan, has followed both our plans and our progress in biomanufacturing, in food and agricultural systems innovation, digital agriculture, and K-State 105 since the beginning. And as recently as last week, I presented to the Board of Regents on both of these opportunity vectors and both of these requests for support for biomanufacturing and K-State 105. And they are supportive of both and understand the importance of both. Understand they're different. Biomanufacturing, training, and education, this is about creating jobs and graduates who are ready to go into high-paying jobs. This is really as much a workforce development program as it is anything else. K-State 105 is our commitment as Kansas land-grant university to saying, if we're going to help to drive economic prosperity in Kansas, we're going to do what we can to ensure all 105 counties have a play in that and are lifted in some way through that economic prosperity goal set. So that's about creating conditions and opportunities where individuals, businesses, and ideas can flourish in all 105 counties. So it's less about workforce development and more about the broader economic prosperity set.
My last thing is, I'm really glad to see that you're focusing on keeping our students in the state after they graduate. And one of the things that came out of the workforce development committee over the off session was if you can get a student involved in an internship, not only are they much more ready for the workforce, but they are also going to live in Kansas, because more than likely they end up with a position with that company or one similar in the state of Kansas. So how do you see that progressing, and what percent of your students in the biomanufacturing category are going to have internships?
So our goal is 100%. So
Wow.
one of the reasons we've combined the economic prosperity plan with the research initiation GRIP program and the EDGE is because they all speak to the same challenge, which is creating opportunities for our students, creating conditions where our graduates have good paying jobs here in Kansas and therefore choose to stay in Kansas, and creating conditions whereby Kansas can become globally competitive for business in select industry spaces. But one of the reasons it's so important to me as vice president that the EDGE actually be on our campus rather than a research or industry park a few miles away is because our students can get there in between classes, after work, right? They can engage in part-time work. They can engage in a co-op or internship experience. They can have their senior design capstone project be conducted up there. So we believe, in not too distant future, that all of our students, whether they're in agricultural innovation, whether they're in food systems, or whether they're in biodefense, biosecurity, or biomanufacturing, all of them will have an internship opportunity in Manhattan. And that will be new for our region.
I think it's a great goal. I really like the EDGE program, and I've learned about it, and I keep learning more about it. Especially Representative Dodson is a big fan of it, and I can promise you, if there's anything I can do to help you, I'll do it to get that done.
Thank you, Chair Tarwold. I appreciate that a great deal.
Representative Clayton. Oh, I'm sorry. She's got some sort of surprise for us at the end of the meeting. Representative Dodson.
I would just say for those of you that, whether you're a K-Stater or not, if you haven't been up there to look at the EDGE, I'd encourage you to do that. And you have to have some visuals. If you're down on the south side, which is by the stadium, we've got an enhanced baseball field, baseball stadium. You've got a brand new soccer facility. And then on the eastern side, you've got a brand new indoor football stadium. So you can practice in all weather and hopefully get even better than we are now. And then on the north side of the road, you've got not only an enhanced roadway with dividers and plants and walkways and bus stops and so on, but you've also got two brand new foundation buildings. And in those foundation buildings are housed many of existing businesses that I would say are in the 20 to 30 person range. Those are where a lot of our interns will go. A third building is just getting ready to go. And if you go on down to the west on Kimball, all the way to College Avenue, that will be built out. Brand new grain science building. And there'll also be a hotel that's generally along College and Kimball. So, if you hadn't been there for 10 years, you just not know you were in the same place. And that'll be true in the next 5 years as we build this thing out. So one of the things that I really enjoy about these leaders who are doing this is they've engaged with the city and the county and other stakeholders. It's a team effort. And, most success comes with great teams. And they're really doing that right now. So we're very encouraged. And this committee has been very helpful to, encourage the kinds of things that we need to do for helping our businesses grow and providing scholarship and that kind of thing. So thanks.
Any further discussion or questions? Seeing none. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair
Thanks.
Tarwood.
Thanks
Appreciate it.
again. Representative Dodson.
All right. Here's Kevin Gwinner, the Dean of the Business College.
Well, thank you very much for having me here today. I appreciate the opportunity to address the group. As Representative Dodson said, I'm Kevin Gwinner. I've been at K-State since 1999 and here as the Dean since 2015. I'm a marketing faculty member, was the department head there for about 10 years. And I was asked to come today and provide an update on what's going on in the college with a bit of a focus on how we interact with industry and prepare our graduates to succeed and become economic drivers in the state of Kansas. And I have to apologize for my voice. I started coming down a little bit with a cold last night, so if I cough a little bit or seem to stutter, that's what's going on. If you wouldn't mind advancing the slide. So we're mostly an undergraduate shop in the College of Business. We have about 2,500 undergraduates, about 300 graduates. We also provide a minor, several minors for engineering students and ag students and others on campus. So we serve about 500 students in that capacity. We have 8 different majors. Our 2 newest majors are the one that we started this year is in supply chain management, which is, of course, is a huge growing area and one that we've had a lot of courses in before, but not a full-on major. And so that became a major this last year. And then the one before that was in professional selling, which is a major where we have tremendous success. A lot of actually it's the program in which we have the highest placement rate. We have a 100% placement rate of graduates coming out of that program. We also offer a variety of certificates and minors for both business students and non-business students. If you would mind advancing. We're housed in a new business building. We opened in 2016. I think I need to stop calling it new at some point in time now that we're about 7 years old. This is it was a $55 million project. It came in under budget at $53 million. $40 million of it was privately raised, and the remainder, $13 million, is financed through the university. So $53 million buildings, 160,000 square feet. If you've been on campus, we used to live in Calvin Hall, which is just there next to the parking garage near the Student Union. The graphic that's on the screen here is the atrium of the new business building, and Calvin Hall pretty much fits in the atrium of this building. So Calvin Hall was about 40,000 square feet. There's a variety of classrooms of various sizes, including a 250-seat lecture hall. We have a number of specialized learning areas. So I mentioned our sales program. That's housed in what we call the National Strategic Selling Institute. It's a very applied curriculum. In that space, we have 6 role play rooms where students role play sales interactions. We do competitions with them in that way. We have a management information system suite that has data analytics and a networking lab, as well as a collaboration area for the students. We have an entrepreneurship center as you enter off of the south end of the building, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. But this is an area that we offer both a minor as well as a college-wide major. And then we have some finance labs on the first floor where we teach our finance programs. We utilize Bloomberg terminals in those rooms so that the students have the experience that they'll need as they enter into the business world. One of the things that you see here is a lot of seating areas, and if you've in this atrium, also the ends of the wings of the building. Calvin Hall, all it was classrooms and hallways and offices. And so what happened was at the end of the day, the students would, or at the end of after a class, they would leave. They would go over to the student union, they'd go home, they'd go to the library, they went other places. They weren't staying in the building. And what we found is that now the students are staying in the business building. And what that means, the benefits is they get to know each other, they get to know our faculty, they're partaking more of our services. There's even a coffee shop, so you don't even have to leave for lunch. So it's really changed the organizational culture in a very positive way for the College of Business. And it's interesting to think of a facility, a physical structure, actually having that impact. If you haven't been, I would invite you to come over. Showing the building off is one of my favorite things to do. So I'd love to give you a tour. Just let me know, and we'll do that. Some more information about the college. Just this week, we received news from U.S. News and World Report that we have improved in our online MBA rankings. So we're now 12th in the country, moving up from number 24 in the country last year. And that's our program that's geared at working professionals. So these are people, for the most part, working full-time and taking this program in the evenings or in their off time on the weekends. We're accredited by a group called AACSB in both our business college as well as a separate accounting accreditation, which puts us in about only about 2% of all business schools worldwide are accredited in both. So we're a pretty unique company in that way. We call ourselves the #1 choice of business education for high school graduates from Kansas because there's more high school graduates interested in business from Kansas going to K-State than any other college in the state or in the world. About 18% of our students are first generation, so the first person in their family to ever go to college, and that's actually down a few percentage points from where it has been in the past. It's probably the thing that gets me energized and excited the most is educating those students who then go on and have a college career, and as they or have a career in business and are successful, and then as they start to have children and families, the discussion around the dinner table isn't so much are you going to go to college, but where are you going to go to college? And as I'm sure you know, the benefits of a college education are numerous. You were asking earlier about internships. In our college, 68% of our students have had at least one internship. Many have had 2 or 3 internships before they graduate. Our goal is 80% of our students to have an internship before they graduate. We have a robust scholarshiping program out of the College of Business. We give out about $1.7 million in scholarship aid to our roughly 3,000 students every year. And most of our students are from the state of Kansas, so about 79%, which mirrors the university, are business students from the state of Kansas. We interact with industry quite a bit. We have 10 advisory boards in the college for different departments, for the college as a whole, for some of our specialized units, and over 400 executives are on those boards. We use that group in a number of different ways. Of course, it's a group that comes and hires our students, which is important, and offers them internships. They provide financial contributions to the college, and they provide input, and perhaps even most importantly, on our curriculum so that we can make sure that we're always at the forefront of what business needs and what we're teaching in our classes. Philanthropy is also a big part of what we do in the college. We've raised about $88 million since 2018, and we have an endowment of $94 million in the college. This, of course, is not just a big open checkbook. It's all targeted depending on what the donors' interests were. So these are things like scholarships or faculty and staff support. A lot of it is in programming to support a center or to support a particular area. And then we have some funds that support the ongoing maintenance of our building. So next slide. We're interested in creating a pipeline from high schools all the way to graduation in the college. And so one of the things that we've put a lot of effort into in the last few years is making sure that we have outreach into our high schools in the state in order to make them aware of the different opportunities that we have. So we have a honors program that we call the Menard's Family Scholars Program that offers exceptionally high academic students a pathway to have some extracurricular experiences that others don't always get. We are 62% male in the College of Business, although the university overall is 50-50. It's not unusual to see some colleges more male or more female. You may know that engineering is very male, vet med is almost all female, education is very female. But in the College of Business, we don't really see why that is. And so we've created an initiative, a Women in Business initiative, in order to attract and educate more women about the careers in business that they can have and how they can be successful. We do something called the Kansas Entrepreneurship Challenge, where we do it's a statewide idea pitch competition. So think Shark Tank. With the high schools, it's sponsored by the Kansas Masons. They provide prize money, they provide judges. We do the initial rounds in the high schools, and then we bring the students to Kansas State University for the final rounds and expose those students to K-State. We also have a similar idea, but it's around a stock pitch competition. One of our alums in New York City sponsors this, and these students come and they pitch an equity that they've analyzed. For this last summer, we started something we're calling the High School Summer Institute. It's our camp. It's our summer camp. And so this one had me the most nervous of any program that we do, because it was juniors and sophomores, and mostly juniors and sophomores in high school, coming and living on campus for 3 days and interacting with us in a variety of ways. And so they were in the dormitories, and had a great experience. We had about 35 students come. We're looking to double that next year. We sold out the first hour. We had registration open, but we think now that we've done it once, we'll be able to do it more successfully, or continue the success with a larger group. And then in our accounting program, we offer high school accounting courses that are taught online by our instructors and coordinated in the high school by the teachers. And then when the students come to K-State, those classes that they've taken count for one of our accounting classes. Again, it's a pipeline to graduation, which is a big key part of what we're trying to do. If you would mind advancing. So this is our degrees conferred table. We're now producing over 800 graduates a year. A lot of the growth has been in our master's programs. Our most recent master's program, you may have seen on that slide that I had up before, although I didn't mention the program, is our master's in data analytics. And these students are also commanding some of our highest salaries coming out of K-State's business school. But the goal is to produce graduates that will help grow the Kansas economy. Next slide. So how do they do? Well, about 98% of them have either accepted a job, plan to start a business, or have been accepted to graduate school within a few months of graduation. That 57% of them in the spring of 22, that graduating class, took jobs in Kansas. Another pretty big chunk are on the Missouri side of Kansas City, so there's a lot in the area. We had 329 different companies hire our graduates last year, so it's a lot of companies that we're interacting with in a meaningful way. Many of them are just hiring 1 or 2 graduates, but the group of companies you see there on the bottom of the slide come and they hire multiples. So this is the top 12 in terms of the number of employees that they've hired from the K-State in 21-22 from that academic year from the business school. $55,000 is our median salary currently, and then I have some information there by major from 21-22. So you can see our data analytics group, that's that last number, that master's program, 76,500. It's a good ROI. It's a good ROI on your investment to come to K-State. You're spending about $12,000 a year on tuition, and you're coming out with a job in the probably 45 to 75,000 range as an undergraduate student. Next slide. In terms of industry outreach, I wanted to mention a few items. Out of our Center for Entrepreneurship, we have what we call an accelerator program, where we take high potential startup companies in the state and work with them to move their idea and their concept forward. So we've actually just started this recent cohort. There's 10 companies. They do an 8-week online educational curriculum with us. They get a team of undergraduate and graduate business students that work with them as market researchers. They do competitive analysis, whatever they might need. We connect them with our network of alumni. So we connect them with some mentors, depending on what their needs might be. Maybe they need legal advice, or they might need information about raising capital. So we connect them with the right person. And then we do a competition at the end where they present their ideas, and people get to vote on the best ones. And we have this year we have $100,000 of non-equity prize money that we're going to put into the businesses. We also work with our graduate programs in a capstone project. It's a consulting project that they do in their final semester, where they work with an organization in the state to do a variety of projects. It could be an accounting project. It could be something looking at improving processes. It could be a data analytics project. And we charge a very nominal fee. I think it's $500 to the company, which helps us cover some of our costs and provide some scholarships. And the companies get really good information. They get access to these students that often become employees of those companies at the end of that engagement because they've been connected. And then one of our more recent efforts is in the area of micro-credentialing. And this is a term that's being used now in higher education for us to think about smaller chunks of educational content. That's probably the best way to think about it. So this is for someone that needs to upskill in order to get a new job or to advance in their current career. It's not always for credit. It can be for non-credit. It can not lead to a degree. It can be stacked and lead to a degree. We have this fall, we launched 2 different micro-credentials, one in the area of innovation and entrepreneurship, and the other is a data analytics course where we teach them to use Python. And we have 15 additional micro-credentials under development right now that our goal is to roll those out in the fall of 23. And then just one more slide on how we work with companies. We have a corporate partners program. We're in year 5 of this. This recognizes firms that have financially contributed to the college. There's levels of recognition based upon how much is given. And this year we recognized 53 different partners, up from 46 last year, and 45 last year. And collectively, those 53 companies donated about $1.5 million to our students, faculty, and our programs. We've also instituted a corporate relations director that works directly with companies to bring more companies to campus, to hire our graduates, to provide internships, but also to work with our faculty on research, to educate companies about the micro-credentialing that we have to offer, as well as our graduate programs, and get them interested in that. And of course, we always are looking for people to speak in our courses. So I think that's all that I have. I hope that the takeaway today is simply that that we are a company we're a college that produces great graduates for companies that are growing in the state of Kansas. And I'd be happy to take any questions you have.
Well, if you were looking for speakers, you've come to the right committee. There's several on here that love to talk. I'm just
outstanding.
I'm just kidding. Are there questions or comments? Representative Poskin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just had a quick question about your business certificates. And then when I saw the later slides about micro-credentials, maybe they kind of go together. But are your business certificates open to non-degree seeking students? Or is it just an add-on to your bachelor's degree?
They're all 4-credit types of courses that are in those certificates right now. So you might think of certificates and minors as interchangeable. Yeah.
So a non-degree seeking student would not be able to participate in those?
If they were admitted to the university and they would be able to take it for credit, they wouldn't have to be seeking a degree. They could take it.
Okay,
yep.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
So you mentioned that 21%, well, you mentioned 79% are from Kansas. So quick math, 21% are from out of state, I would assume. How many of one of the things we talked about in the workforce development was some of these competing states are offering out-of-state tuition or in-state tuition to out-of-state students with the hope that those students would come there and fall in love with that state and then live there. What percent of students from outside the state end up staying in here?
I don't have that percentage on the top of my head. I would say that my guess though would be that it's less than that 57% that you saw of in-state students staying in Kansas. But I'm sorry, I don't have that number.
All right.
Be happy to get it for you.
Do you have any programs that offer out-of-state students in-state tuition?
So the tuition is set at the university rather than the college level, but we have a program that we've launched for this year, this recruiting year, that mirrors the program at the University of Arkansas, which has been very successful in attracting students from Texas and other states. And it's geared around, it's pegged to one's high school GPA. So if you have a high enough GPA, that cutoff, you would receive in-state tuition, and then it scales down to about 1.5 times in-state tuition at the lower levels. So it's it replaces a program that we had before that was a little bit of a patchwork because it was dependent on what state you lived in, and now it's a uniform across all states if you're an out of Kansas student.
That was the college that we talked about the most, was Arkansas, and we figured they knew something that we didn't, and so hopefully we'll get some good information out of your program to see if that works. But if you could get back to us, or I'm sure you have someone in your college that can figure out how many of the out-of-state students actually stay here. I'd like to know that number.
I'd be happy to do that.
Either way. All right, seeing no further questions, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for your time.
Representative Clayton, did you have something?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I didn't really bring this concern up because I supported the bill and I supported the amendment, but noticing in a couple of my committees just a lot of changes to the way that bills are being worked and amendments in particular are being done. And so my big concern, I guess, is that this new way might have a chilling effect on things like substitute motions. And I'm just wondering if you can just kind of walk me through that. I don't want to, automatically assume that you're being nefarious because, you are a pretty good guy. But I do just want some clarification, make me feel better.
So it was told to us by the Department of Revisers, that we were doing it incorrectly. That first motion to pass doesn't matter because the final motion, you restate the motion and it's usually as amended. Representative Patton knows more about that, and I'm going to turn it over to him so he can tell you what he thinks about it. Because there's a lot of ghost motions floating around here at nighttime, and it scares the heck out of some people.
Thanks for phoning a friend, Mr. Chair. You'll notice we also did this with rules. We're trying to be consistent because we don't want you to show up in one committee and things be done one way, and then you show up an hour later in a different committee and it's ran differently. So we tried to make sure our rules for our committees are fairly similar, hopefully identical, but I'm not sure everyone did that. But same thing with working bills. There was really two ways that they've been worked in the past. I've not been on this committee, but I'm assuming you worked it the other way in the past, where you'd bring up a bill, someone would make a motion to pass it out of committee, then you'd work through amendments, and then someone at the end would make a motion again to pass it out of committee, either as amended or not as amended. And so you had that initial motion floating out there. You'd never vote on that one. You'd move it right into motions on amendments, and then you'd make another motion at the end. Well, since I was making the recommendation along with Gordon, we went with the way my committee does it. Which is you bring the bill up for discussion, or you bring the bill up for consideration, and then begin working the bill. So you work your way through amendments. When you get all your amendments done, then you make a motion to recommend it out favorably, either as amended or just, if again, no amendments, you make a motion to recommend it out favorably, and then you consider that final motion, which is what sends it out of committee. So that's the new way for you all on this committee. It's the way we've done it in judiciary since I've been on judiciary. And I hear committees kind of did it both ways. So we're hoping it's consistent everywhere you go.
So I guess, just to clarify here then, since we're doing everything your way, does that make you the emperor over His Excellency?
I mean, we can talk through that, what you want to call me, but I mean, for now, I'll just go with the phone a friend.
Are there any questions on that process? I don't really care how we do it, but I'm being told that we were not doing it correctly. So, all right. So we'll see you Monday. Monday we have a hearing on a bill about tattoo artists, so it should be quite colorful.